Taking Parliament to the people. Dialogue breaks on Radio Jeem.
16:32 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to it. This is the Dialogue Breaks right here on Radio Jeem. My name is Alpha Sinkosi. It is indeed a beautiful Thursday. While ousted ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule has announced the launch of his new political party, marking his return to politics ahead of the 2024 general elections. This comes after 3 months after he was expelled from the ANC as the party's former Secretary General. Magashule announced the formation of his new political organization, the African Congress for Transformation. That happened yesterday. Remember that Magashule announced the launch of the act at a press conference in the famed Vilakazi Street, formerly home to both Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela in Soweto. We're joined by political analyst Professor Duvenhage to help us unpack this whole formation of new parties ahead of 2024. Prof, thank you so much. Welcome to the program and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alpha. Nice talking to you.
Great pleasure indeed, Prof. I mean, did this come as a surprise to you, Prof? Was this something that has been expected from Ace Magashule?
Elfas, you know, I'm following the career and the political environment around Mr. Ace Magashule for the past 2+ decades. And he's probably the politician, maybe with the exception of Zuma, I had the most interviews. When it comes to radio, I believe it's a lot more than 100. So I know his context very well. And one aspect of Mr. Magashule, he won't run away. He will fight until the bitter end. As we say in Afrikaans, he's a bitter ender. He's fighting to the bitter end. And 3 months ago, we had 2 scenarios about Mr. Magashule. I understand at that point in time, there were a lot of conversation between him and the leadership of the EFF, and there was the possibility that he will reposition him within the EFF. But then, quite shortly after that, there came a message through the system that he's going to establish his own party called Mandla Kufu, something like fighting till the bitter end or something like that. Yes. And then it was quiet, and yesterday we had the presentation. We announced that the name of his party will be the African Congress for Transformation. Now, the name in itself is very interesting because the colors is the same as the ANC, including red. Coming from the RET faction, he accommodate the ANC on the one side and the radical line of, let's say, the EFF. And I believe if there's an alphabetical list, he will be very close to the ANC. And I think people may misjudge his party, whose name is sounding in a way similar to that of the ANC, with the ANC, and he can score on that ticket. It happened in the past in terms of the African, I think, Independent Congress or something like that. So it was a sound tactical move. He is at the moment building his party on the philosophical grounding of Africanism and Pan-Africanism. What was also interesting is that he targeted the ANC very specifically and said to them, he's going to look after the disgruntled people in the ANC, people that were not good enough for the structures. He's going to take them with him. Also interesting, a huge part of his presentation was in Afrikaans. And I found that very, very interesting in the middle of Soweto. But I think Mr. Magashule is definitely going to compete in the election. I think his support base is more in the Free State, although he's a Tswana with strong lines to the northwest and specifically Supramoamopelo himself. So all of this is making a very interesting environment in an election environment that is already very dynamic, challenging, and interesting.
But of course, Prof, when you look at this, obviously he's starting this party looking at the 2024 elections, talking about the likes of Benning and Tlabeza joining him. What are the likelihoods of other prominent ANC members within or outside the ANC to join him, knowing that he's a good mobilizer, he's Ace Magashule, anything goes by, there are those that they are still disgruntled within the party. What are the likelihoods of them joining his party?
We are primarily talking about black politics here.
Yep.
And there's an interesting parallel. And the parallel is with no one else than Juju or Julius Malema. And when Julius Malema was expelled from the ANC, he did it relatively on his own. There were no structures surrounding him. He was on his own. He restarted his movement. He activated his supporters, and he built a support base in a way. And I think that Ace Magashule is going to take a few leaves out of the page, a book of Juju Malema. And in that sense, I think already Ace Magashule has a bit of an advantage, because you will remember he said that he consulted with a number of senior ANC politicians, including ex-presidents. He prepared the terrain for 6 months. So he argued that he is ready for this. But that's the one side of the story. The other side of the story is that it is always difficult to make your mark in South African politics. It is a very established, rigid political market, and it's not going to be that easy to make inroads in the support base of other parties. But I think that Mr. Ace Magashule is standing the best chance when it comes to the Free State. My understanding is that he still has a lot of support in Free State circles. That's the first point. The second point is he has some support here in Northwest, and according to people in Gauteng, there's also support in Gauteng. But I think his core base may be the Free State, and I think he can hurt the ANC in the Free State to the extent that they may end up in forms of coalition politics in that province. That is also the assessment of one of my old colleagues, currently the leader of the Democratic Alliance in the Free State, Dr. Roy Jankelson.
Oh, yes. And now, Prof, I had Carl Niehaus berating yesterday. What happens now to Carl Niehaus? Because once in a time, the notion was that they are going to be together in one political party. Where does this now put Carl Niehaus and his political aspirations?
Well, I think Carl Niehaus, in a way, is a political scavenger. He survived from whatever he can find in order to survive. And my understanding is that his relationship with Jacob Zuma is not that well anymore. What is basically left is Ace Magashule. I am not sure that his image is doing Ace Magashule certain good. I am sure that he's not going to mobilize a lot of white support while presenting the likes of people like Mr. What is his name now? Carl Niehaus. And I think that it is the wrong person to be with him, but I think we can say that already there is some movement in directions. We know that Carl Niehaus has strong connections and structures within the ANC, and he will definitely use it. But I believe that there are stronger people behind the scenes that may move in position when it comes closer to the election. Now, at the moment, we have a huge debate about the electoral system and how it should be adapted for the 2024 elections. But what is clear is if we follow the list proportional line, and it will be at least, I believe, 50 to 80% of the process, of the electoral process, then parties need to present lists, and then it will be more clear precisely who is going to support Ace Magashule.
Yeah, indeed. And then when we're looking at the formation of these political parties, it's a little bit now too late, but is it fair then to say this is a reflection of democracy, whereby everyone can just wake up tomorrow and form their political party? And we know that these things happens towards the elections, and then after just within time, those political parties disappear. But can we now pin this into democracy at play?
Well, yes, I don't think what he is doing at the moment is going against democratic principles. Now, I'm talking about the establishment of the party, not the context, the legal context of state capture and all the things that happened during his premiership in the Free State. I'm just talking about the right to establish a political party, to take part in political processes. That is the right of everyone within the Constitution. And there's nothing wrong as far as this is concerned. But I think it is going to be a difficult task. It is not that easy to establish a party, to establish structures within 9 provinces if he's going to compete in 9 provinces. It is difficult to mobilize the support on day of election. That's one of the problems of the EFF. They can fill the FNB stadium, but they won't find it that easy to get the 95,000 people to vote on election day. So this is another challenge. You must find people that has support around you, that can help you with this big task. And this is a tall order, 8 to 9 months before the election.
But of course, we know that some surveys do come at play during this time, looking at the popularity of certain politicians. But now, due to independent candidates standing in, they want to stand in for elections next year. Are we perhaps maybe expected to see some of these surveys changing a bit, or is just a matter of it will always go to the biggest 3 parties, the ANC, the EFF, and the Democratic Alliance?
Elfas, that is a very difficult question to answer correctly. The long and the short is, I think no analyst precisely know, because at this point in time, the whole electoral act, the revised electoral act, is before the Constitutional Court, and people are debating the merit of the initial Constitutional Court decision to accommodate individuals into political processes and how they should be accommodated. The problem is the how. And at the moment, it's not clear in which direction it will go. But it's an uneven playing field, to put it straightforward, between parties and individuals. I think in terms of the revised legislation, it's going to be difficult for individuals to become elected in this process. That is, if there's no further other changes to the Constitutional Electoral Act at this point in time. But yes, it can have an impact. And the reason I'm saying so is there are individuals in South Africa with huge support. And if they can mobilize and put themselves there, then they stand a chance. But generally speaking, one individual cannot compete with, let's say, a party like the ANC, the Democratic Alliance, the EFF, the IFP. These are well-organized structures, sometimes with strong financial backing, and the individual is a loner. And you will see when it comes to presidential elections in other countries, where people are elected, like for America, for example, the American election. You will find that it is only people that is financially strong that can really compete on a level to become president of a country. In a way, but miskien less that, it will also be true to South African independence. But we need to wait and see what is the outcome of the court case and what the IEC is going to do with that. Because the current framework is going to be extremely difficult to implement. There may be major challenges when it comes to the election. And we may end up in a scenario where the election is declared null and void if it is not well thought through under current circumstances, not only in terms of principle, but also in terms of implementation.
Final one, Prof. Obviously, we can't just ignore the small political parties. But then with regards to the growth and the appetite in politics about from the people, do smaller political parties still have a role to play, especially looking at these highly contested elections next year? Are we seeing any survival from these smaller political parties?
Well, the rules of the political game is changing very fast. And we have seen that with the 2021 local elections. And coalition politics is becoming the name of the game, where big parties do not have absolute majorities. And then they need smaller parties. So the point I like to make is that smaller parties is going to play a more and more important role in the future. We have recently seen coalition talks among 7 opposition parties in order to create a coalition. It formed a basic structure. So yes, smaller parties are important. These 7 parties, however, will campaign under their own names. So that strategy will be there. But the importance of a party, a small party, will, I think, be more important than was the case, let's say, 10 or 20 years back, when we basically had a one-party dominant system with the ANC dominating everything with the possible exception of the Western Cape. So that is the case, and that is why a party like the African Congress for Transformation can make a difference, especially if they are campaigning good in a province like the Free State and maybe some areas outside of the Free State.
Absolutely. Prof, thank you so much for your time. You've been good, and to really appreciate your time to come and give us your expert analysis on these political issues. Thank you so much. Take care. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Alphas.
It's a very big thank you there to our guest as Professor Andre Duvenhage, political analyst, just taking us through to the newly formed political party by Ace Magashule, former Secretary General of the African National Congress, whom we know that he was expelled by the party. He went on to form his own political party. Then we'll see what's going to take place, what's going to happen with these political parties as they are coming, they're becoming so many right now, But then when you look at the IEC's regulations as well, it seems as if other political parties won't see the light of the day. This is the Dialogue Breaks right here on Radio G. My name is Alphas Nkosi. Well, it's been great, and hope you have a lovely and a blessed afternoon. It's bye-bye.